I guess you're right. I mean,
That's true, and I have those too, and I like shooting them. And but again, this goes back to what we were originally talking about. Why not both? You
why
know.
not both? Yeah, it's not an either or, man. Hey, I want a reason to get another gun. Don't ruin that for me. I'm Ryan Gresham, and this is Gun Talk Nation. Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Loopold, Colt, Range Ready, TSAS, Armasight, and Ruger. All right, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, one of our buddies, I've been around the country shooting with this guy for a long time at different events. He works for the NRA in the publications department. His name's Ed Friedman. Welcome in, Ed.
Thanks, Ryan. It's good to be here, and yeah, we've been on so many events together. It's almost like when I don't see you on one, it's weird. So
I know. So one of the ones that comes to mind, and it's funny because you remember stuff because you have a photo or a video of something, and I probably wouldn't have remembered this otherwise. But do you remember we were at Gunsight for a Mossberg event many moons ago, and this was during the craze of the zombie guns and everything being green and zombie themed. And Mossberg had like a zombie themed shotgun.
yeah.
It was one of those little pistol grip deals, little shorty guy, and any other weapon. So it wasn't a shotgun, it was a other weapon. And we were shooting from the hip at zombie targets. Do you remember this?
Yes, it was the chainsaw, I think. It had that grip up top that you were supposed to hold like at your hip and shoot. I actually think that was a regular 500 or 590 without a buttstock, but with the pistol grip and then an 18.5-inch barrel. It was not the most brilliant idea to shoot that from the hip, let's put it that way. But it was a fun gun. No,
and the reason
doubt.
I know the reason I agree, because the reason I remember this is we were shooting an episode of TV, and I'm not trying to pick on you because everybody did it, but there became like a funny bit in the show where we were all trying to shoot this zombie target from the hip with this chainsaw gun, which you really can't aim. I mean,
No.
you're shooting from the hip, and the tendency is you drop your rear hand and you shoot over the target is what happens.
Yep.
But you did it like over and over and over. So we put it in there in the show of like and Ed's like turning to one of the Gunsight guys like, what? I'm still high? Like, you haven't hit it yet? And then eventually you hit it. And we're like, yay.
Yeah. That was, it's not, you're so used to with every firearm that you shoot, getting the sights on target. So when you're coming from the hip, you really don't know what you're doing. And there's a reason why we don't shoot from the hip in most cases. But, it's funny that you mentioned that, because we were having a discussion among the editors of Shooting Illustrated about, for a while there, it seemed that lasers on handguns in particular were the must-have accessory that could really help you improve your shooting in defensive scenarios. And that seemed to switch, like literally someone flipped a switch and we went to red dot sights on pistols. And, we were trying to figure out why, and I don't know if part of that is, the major marketing force, at least behind lasers, was Crimson Trace when it was an independent company, and then it got bought, and it seemed that the emphasis on lasers was reduced. And right about that time, the micro red dot sight got popular, and it seemed like everyone wanted to do that. So, but when you talk about shooting from the hip, a laser actually helps with that, because you can see where your bullet's going to impact.
Absolutely. And yeah, Crimson Trace, I mean, they still have some solutions for that. They're actually fairly elegant and they work. I also liked the Laser Light had their, I can't remember. I think it was called a center mass laser that had a series of lasers. It was like a ring of laser dots, and it spread out sort of the, like, quote unquote, like follow the pattern of the shotgun kind of. And what was kind of neat about that one, I don't know if you remember it, Ed, but it was easier to pick up because you had this like ring of lasers, so there was a lot of stuff to see.
Right. It wasn't just that one small dot.
It wasn't just the one small dot. But this is so funny because we've had this same discussion in the Gun Talk offices about lasers and red dots and what happened there. Because, I mean, I was kind of a fan of lasers on guns. Like, I mean, and I always said, even Crimson Trace and those guys would say it's not a replacement for using the sights. It's a supplement, but it worked, and we kind of tested it and demonstrated it, and a lot of like new shooters could pick up and go, oh, you just put the laser on the thing and you press the trigger. Okay, cool. There were a lot of advantages to it, and yeah, it's fallen out of favor, but I don't think it's because it stopped working.
No, not at all. I don't. I think it's more like a trend, and people just stopped talking about it. And I'm not really sure why, because I think that, look, this is not a knock on the micro red dot sights. They're great too, but both lasers and the dot sights have limitations. A dot sight, like your iron sights, you have to be able to see it in order to make use of it effectively. The laser has a range limitation because it's straight. I'm sure someone will call in and say that no, it's not straight, and the curvature of the earth and all of those things. But it's fundamentally straight, whereas your bullet is following a ballistic arc. So your point of aim, point of impact is not identical, and at a certain range, it's off target. But if I'm shooting from retention with a laser, I know where my bullet's landing, and I can't do that with either irons or a red dot. So, like, the closer you are, the laser might be more effective, and as you move out farther, the red dot might be more effective. I don't know. It's easy, for me to say this, but you could always have both on your gun, right?
I keep telling people, like, this isn't an either-or world.
Right.
We live in a both world, man.
Right.
Run both. You're fine. Put more stuff on that gun. No, you're right, Ed. And I'll say this. There are many real cases of lasers being pointed at bad guys, and they give up very quickly because they see the laser. And I had that experience in a Force scenario. We were filming our first-person defender show, and I was the bad guy. And we had lasers on the guns. Crimson Trace was a sponsor of the show. And I can honestly say, as a bad guy I think I was doing a home invasion, and the good guy stuck the gun out, and the laser went on my chest, and I could see the laser. There was enough like stuff in the air. I could see the laser coming at me. And there's like a psychological thing of, I'm dead. Like, this is it. It's over. Like, they got me. And you just wanted to give up. Like, oh, like this is it.
Yeah, and I think that there's always a danger there of thinking that will happen all the time, because it won't. There are plenty of people who won't notice it, or who are very often high and
they don't care.
They don't care. So I wouldn't rely on that, but it's true. It's this. We always hear that when you rack, all you need to do is rack a shotgun and someone will run away. And no,
don't do that.
That doesn't happen. Well, let me rephrase that. That doesn't happen all the time. Right. But it probably has happened.
It
right?
Could happen.
Like, if someone hears that, they might go, "Oops, wrong house," and run away. But you should never ever rely on anything like that. One of the things I was just talking about this weekend is, if you are drawing a firearm, you have to believe that there is a reason to do so, which means that there is imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury to you or another innocent person. So if you draw that gun, whatever type of gun it is, if you are pointing a gun at an evildoer, you better be sure that level of force is needed. Because if it's not, then you're assaulting them fundamentally.
Right. You're brandishing, you're assaulting. Yeah. Well, and the other part of that is, it doesn't mean, and you'll hear people will say this and they're wrong. Well, if you pull that gun out, you better plan on using it. Like, you're allowed to pull a gun out and not use it, guys. It's okay. you're not like 100% committed to start pulling the trigger. You can still use your brain and say, from the time of drawing a gun to pointing it, maybe like Ed said, maybe the guy goes, my bad, wrong house.
Right. And then you can't shoot.
You don't have to start shooting at that point.
Yeah. It's and you hope, that's the other thing is we hope we never have to, but if you're drawing your gun, the threat of lethal or serious bodily harm has to be there to warrant producing the firearm. And, that back to what you were saying about the laser, you have to be ready to pull the trigger. So if the guy goes, uh-oh, laser, and runs away, then you don't. Mm-hmm. But you have the gun out. So if he ignores it, if that excites him somehow and decides he wants to fight even harder, basically what it is if you should never plan on it being a deterrent, but it can be. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah. That's true for a lot of self-defense with gun stuff. The whole I'll just show them my gun and they'll go away. Yeah, maybe not.
Right. There are a lot of folks out there, and most law-abiding gun owners are people who I don't think I'm making an overgeneralization here. People who didn't grow up in an area where they're likely to be members of a gang or likely to even encounter all that many gang members. There's just a different makeup with people who've grown up in that. Particularly the guys who end up in that criminal lifestyle, where they don't care. They're to them life is cheap, and it's not saying that they want to die, but they don't care. Whereas we do everything in our power to avoid getting into anything that would remotely approach that scenario. That's almost what they live for. Mm-hmm. So,
desensitized to guns being pointed at them or violence or any of that stuff.
Exactly, and we don't think about that way because, it's most law-abiding gun owners, never have to use it. Thank goodness. But you never know if you're going to come across someone intent to do you harm, and look, that's why we carry, right? So
that's it. Ed, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, we've worked with a variety of night vision and thermal optics companies over the years, and one of the ones that we've got to play with lately in the last few years is Armasight. They're making really high quality, both thermal and night vision, and they've got all the different varieties of stuff, from a Sidekick 320 mini thermal monocular to a thermal clip-on, the Jockey 640 compact thermal clip-on, which you put in front of your regular day scope to turn it into a thermal. They've got their operator series of thermals that are weapon mounted, very easy to use. The controls are easy to use, and the imaging is amazing, super high quality, so you can really see what you're aiming at and make those hits. So go check them out, armasight.com. You've probably heard about the Ruger RXM pistol. It's the result of a collaboration between Ruger and Magpul. American-made handgun, stands out with a variety of upgraded features, including direct mount optic cut slide. So you can put an RMR, Delta Point Pro, RMSC cuts with co-witness height sights. It also has their fire control insert. It's a removable stainless steel insert. That's the serialized part of the gun, which enables you to customize using Magpul enhanced grip handgun grips. And so they have different colors, different sizes. You can really customize it. It's Gen 3 compatible, so it works with magazines that you may already own. And we've tested it. We shot it a lot, and we like it. You can learn more about the Ruger RXM over at Ruger.com. If you're listening to this show, you probably like guns, but how many classes have you take to make you a better shooter? And that's what we do at Range Ready Studios. Range Ready is a premium firearms training academy in Robert, Louisiana, and it's here at the Gun Talk headquarters. We've got a range out back, actually several ranges. We've got classroom, we've got a shoot house, and we've got some of the best instructors around. And I promise, when people come here, the reviews are 5-star. They love it and they improve on their shooting. You can learn more at rangereadystudios.com, and I'll tell you a trick. Sign up for the email list, because you guys that sign up for the email list are the first to hear about our new classes, and they sell out quick. Elevate your precision with the Leupold Mark IV HD rifle scope, featuring a professional-grade optical system for pinpoint clarity and zero-lock dials for precise, reliable adjustments. This lightweight yet rugged, reliable rifle scope is the ultimate companion for any shooter, and they have it in a variety of configurations: a 1-to-4, like variable low-power optic, all the way up to an 8 to 32 power if you want to reach out and hit stuff at really long distances. The Leupold Mark IV HD, we've been using it. We've been liking it. It's got a lot of nice features to it. It's high quality. It's something that you can depend on. You can learn more over at leupold.com. So Ed, jumping back in, just thinking about guns these days, and you kind of like us, we get to play with all the stuff. Anything interesting these days? What seems to be hot for you guys? Anything that's kind of, you're going, wow, that's really cool, or you just enjoyed shooting, whether it's a gun or an optic or ammo or whatever?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, one of the funny things, and I've been in this industry now for 22 years. And, when you first joined, and when I moved over to NRA and got access to all of these guns that we get for the magazine, you're a kid in a candy store. But imagine being a kid in a candy store and that's your job, which sounds awesome, but you can get jaded on, oh, look, they made a new, this chocolate is 86% cacao instead of 85,
Right.
Ooh. But that said, I think that a lot of the incremental improvements that we're seeing are really, really good. One that I shot last year that just blew my mind was the new Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, the 380. That, I don't have particularly large hands, but it fits in the palm of my hand.
Yeah.
And yet it is comfortable. Obviously, that small, it's very easy to conceal, very light, very easy to carry. And with the advances in 380 ammunition, it's a viable self-defense tool. It wouldn't necessarily be my first choice. I think it was General Schwarzkopf said he was in Vietnam, and a superior officer asked him, well, what kind of cover do you want when you're going out on a mission? He said, well, a squadron of B-52s overhead would be what I want.
Right. Yeah, but that's my backup.
Yeah, exactly. So, I would much rather have a rifle or something that's more likely to stop the fight very quickly, easier to put on target and keep rounds exactly where I want them to go. But the reality is, you're not walking around, you're not going to the grocery store carrying a rifle. So, if I have to carry, and particularly in the summer months when at least here in the DC suburbs, it's pretty unbearable. You're wearing shorts and a t-shirt and sweating in that. Having something that you can easily conceal in that garb is important. You might, when it's warmer, you might be able to, when it's colder, you might be able to have a larger pistol. But you may not want to carry that when you can't effectively conceal it. So these smaller guns, and we see it with, as you are well aware, the P365, the Hellcat, all that good stuff. There's a reason why they're so popular.
That new Bodyguard, we kind of call it the baby M&P around here. And I think that Smith & Wesson has done a nice job in the last several years of really kind of expanding the M&P look and feel, because the grip is like an M&P-ish feel, the trigger. They even did that with some of their like carbines and like their, I think that shotgun that they had. It was like an M&P grip on it, and it just has that familiar feel, especially for me. Like I always say, M&P pistols feel like home. It was kind of my first real modern polymer gun that I have like thousands of rounds through, so it just feels like home to me. So that grip and that trigger, I like what they've done.
I find that I shoot those guns better, and obviously that's a personal thing. It just happens to be that with the Smith, with the M&Ps, particularly M2.0s and on, I have a much easier time putting rounds where I want them with that than much of the other similar options out there. But that was definitely a very cool gun. Sort of the most excited I've been about something in a while. Then we're currently reviewing this for an upcoming issue of Shooting Illustrated, the Springfield Armory Kuna, which just came out.
That's made some waves. I mean, it's kind of, it's funny. Everyone's talking about it. We've covered it a little bit. We were doing some video stuff with them at the NRA show, and it's like, I like it, and I'm also kind of like, man, why are people so pumped up about this gun? Like, and I'm not saying that like I don't think it's cool. Like, I do think it's cool, but it's just surprising the level of people being excited about it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's not like that type of gun hasn't existed for a very, very long time.
Right.
But I think that you have something from a very reputable manufacturer in Springfield Armory. This is coming from the same factory that makes the Hellcat, that makes the XDs, XDMs, the Hellion, the Croatian factory there. So Echelon. I think, what's that?
Echelon as well, I think. Right?
Yes, and the Echelon. That's right. Yes. And so these are all guns that, particularly the more recent stuff that people swear by, and are of really good quality. That's not to say that there aren't other, large format pistol in a pistol caliber. They're subguns that are semi-automatic only, so you can't really call it a submachine gun. But that are, you had to reach up in price for a while to get one that was of outstanding quality. You could go with ones that worked fine, but maybe weren't quite as good. So I think that's part of it. I think it's competition for the CZ Scorpion, which is another excellent example of that platform. Yeah. And anytime there's competition, it's good for the consumer. Mm-hmm. Why this one in particular? I mean, it's roller locked, which is interesting. That's a very, very reliable system. I have not taken apart the Kuna, but I have taken apart other roller locked mechanisms down at the taking the bolt apart and the roller lock system apart level, and I would not recommend that. It's not fun.
Leave it put together.
Leave it put together. I mean, you can field strip it for cleaning, but once you start taking it out to beyond the field strip
Ed.
level.
Oh my gosh, we were just talking about that with somebody. It's like, it was another guy, and he says, just don't take it all the way apart. And there was actually a shotgun. We had a guy in here from Tactiload, and we was like, I've done it. He goes, but you shouldn't take all of the bolts and pieces off of this semi-auto shotgun. Like, I mean, it's like, and it's funny. I'm not like the mechanical guy. I'm more of the, I'm not sure. Like, I'll field strip it. I'll do what I got to, but I don't want to. And then you have, like, I've got buddies who are like, I better take it all the way apart. I'm like, I'm not sure if I recommend that.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, what happened was I had bought a gun on online, got it shipped to an FFL, picked it up, and realized that the people who sent it to me without a firing pin. So I had to install a firing pin, which is why I ended up doing this. And it was very easy to take apart. So I figured, it'll be easy to put back together. And those roller locking systems are not easy to put back together. There is apparently a trick that no one has successfully taught me that makes it much easier but I had sore thumbs and fingers for a while after several hours of trying to get that thing to fit back together properly. And eventually it worked. I got it back together, and the gun worked perfectly. They're extremely, extremely reliable. But I would say field strip it, and if there's anything else, find an armorer or someone near you who can do that for you. But I don't think that anyone will have to with the Kuna, because it's new, and I'm going to wager that Springfield ships them all with firing pins. So I don't think you have to worry.
Don't be that guy. You go to the gunsmith with a gun in a Ziploc bag. And
Yes, yes.
Can you make this a gun again, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we've probably all run into that once or twice, where it's like, oh, this is fun, and then the reverse is not quite as easy. So
I think you're right, though. I think the pistol caliber carbines as just a category is still something that's popular. I'm hearing from some other gun companies too of like all this 9mm, little carbine things, or heck, now they're even going into different. Ruger has their, was it PC or LC carbine? They have a 5.7, they have a 45, they have a 10.
Yep.
Smith just brought out theirs, the FPC or whatever it is.
Yep.
I mean, it's fun. These are fun guns to shoot.
They are, because you're shooting a rifle legally. It's a rifle, but it's chambered for a pistol caliber, and even the heavier recoiling pistol calibers. The 10 millimeters. If you're talking some of the lever guns now that are in 44 mag, a 44 mag handgun is not the most pleasant thing in the world to shoot. A 44 mag lever gun, a 10 millimeter pistol caliber carbine, that's lighter than basically any rifle round, and so all of a sudden it takes this ammo, which usually is cheaper than most rifle rounds. Let's be honest, that's a huge part of this, but is also very effective for home defense, and in some cases it might be a little more desirable if you live in a real small apartment, or frankly most houses. Range. This is another thing that we always discuss is we test these guns for accuracy, and the standard when I started in this industry, like I said, 22 years ago, if you had a rifle that shot 1 MOA, that was a tack driver.
Yeah.
And
1 inch at 100 yards.
Yeah, perfect. That's all you needed. And now it's like and that was a bolt action precision rifle, right? Nowadays, if you come out with an AR that's shooting, 1.5 MOA, people are like, oh, that's not accurate enough. And it's like, what do you think you're doing with this? If you have a carbine for home defense, if you do the math, that's 1.5 MOA is 1.5 inches at 100 yards. What's that at 10 yards?
Right.
It's you wouldn't know the bullet would be touching if you put 2 rounds there, right? So, people think of it as, and that's not to say that you shouldn't care. Accuracy is important, but at the ranges that we use guns for self-defense, accuracy that you and I would just be like, oh, that's not acceptable. But then you think about it for a second. What's 6 MOA at 10 yards? You're not missing.
Right. Well, and also, and can you shoot that well? And you're not shooting from a bench. If we're talking about self-defense, you're moving, the attacker guy is moving. The dog is barking. Right.
And
your accuracy is. It would be nice if you're like, oh, dude, I train all the time. Front sight, trigger press, boom, boom, boom. Put them in a little bitty group, maybe. But minute of bad guy is also acceptable at that point.
It's totally acceptable. And, look, and the flip side, and I wouldn't say this is wrong, is if the gun is capable of shooting more accurately when you are not able to be as accurate as you can be, that takes some of the margin of error. But again, the reality is when we shoot, particularly with rifles, the accuracy is such, I'm not talking about for hunting or long range precision competition or anything like that. For home defense, I don't know of a rifle that's any rifle that is not capable of delivering fight-stopping hits at home defense distances, no matter how good or bad you are a shooter. Which is why these pistol caliber carbines, I think, are so popular, because you're getting extra velocity out of the rounds, which generally make the bullets perform better on target, generally make it more accurate. It's easier to be accurate with something that you're shooting from the shoulder as opposed to with just your arms to support it. You have a more stable shooting position. So I get why they're popular, and I like shooting them. So
I do too. And I like them a lot. And then one of my buddies ruined it for me because he got all logical and he said, well, but like you could just get a pistol AR, and it's in 5.56 223, and your 9mm carbine is great, maybe out even to 100. You got a red dot on it, and you're shouldering it, and it could do that. That's good. But he goes, but a 12.5-inch AR, you could do stuff out to 200 and 300. And I was like, well, I guess you're right. I mean,
that's true, and I have those too, and I like shooting them. And but again, this goes back to what we were originally talking about. Why not both?
Why not both? Yeah, it's not an either or, man. Hey, I want a reason to get another gun. Don't ruin that for me.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
The TSOS Carry in 9mm is now available in a double stack version. Built around TSOS's forged slide frame and barrel that are machined to exacting tolerances, the new double stack models combine all the features of modern high-capacity 1911 pistols with the reputation for quality and value that the TSOS guns are known for. They also have a polymer grip module with 25 line prints checkering on the front and rear and molded texture. So very cool guns at a great price. You can learn more over at tsosusa.com. When I'm shopping for guns and gun-related gear, one of the places I always check is Optics Planet because they have a ton of stuff. They also have stuff that you don't find everywhere. So it's kind of like, wow, that's a neat little product. I didn't realize that was out there. And then they're also running a lot of sales and deals. They're very aggressive in trying to, work that system. They have an offer for Gun Talk listeners. If you enter Gun Talk at checkout, you'll get 5% off any order. 5% off, enter Gun Talk at checkout over at Optics Planet. Go check it out. Find something cool, something that you didn't even know you needed. And now, of course, you do. Engineered for precision, performance, and versatility, the Colt Optics Ready 1911 competition pistols are the perfect choice for competitive shooters looking to gain an edge. We're talking about 1911s in either 9mm or 45, and they're cut for optics. I mean, that's like cheating. You get a red dot on top of a Colt 1911. They're versatile. They're great with an optics plate system. Seamless experience for those who want to take their shooting game to the next level. You can learn more over at Colt.com. What about, okay, so we kind of mentioned the pistol thing. We were talking the other day, like shouldering it, the brace, not shouldering it. What's the rule of the week? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a good. There's still some question. Talking to our legislative people, this actually came up last week. The Trump administration, thankfully, and I think unsurprisingly, but it's always good when a politician follows through. Has stated that they're getting rid of the pistol brace rule entirely. So, they tried to make them under the NFA. Well, at first it started out with they're fine, then it was you can't shoulder them, then it was they're under the NFA, and you can
look at them, you're not allowed to touch them.
Exactly.
You put it on the gun, you can put it near the gun, but wait. And then the bump fire, that's illegal, and now it's not illegal because there was this case, and you're like, I don't even.
Exactly. So we're back to the from what I understand, pistol braces are legal. I know that the court order held for NRA members, I think for GOA members, SAF members, and there's some groups which we'd like to think would be every gun owner, but that's something that people need to do. I'm going to be biased here. Join NRA. But we're covered. But in general, I'm not quite sure. The Trump administration has stated that they're going to get rid of that regulation. Whether they have as of right now, I don't know. Obviously, they're doing.
Ed's not
things.
Your lawyer. Don't take legal advice from Ed.
Never.
We're just talking here.
Yeah,
this guy's
we're just talking. And the Trump administration, as everyone knows, is doing quite a few things. So I don't know exactly where in the order.
Hard to keep up. There's a lot of movement every day.
Every day.
I don't know. What do they sign?
I don't know where in the order of operations that falls, but we're hopeful that those will be just another accessory you can add to your firearm, and leave it at that. In terms of shouldering them or not, they were designed to be used to help you brace it while shooting with one hand, and we'll just leave it at that.
Just leave it at that. Jeez, Ed, thanks for coming on, man. It's been fun. It's always good to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, anytime, man. I enjoy it, and it's always good talking to you. It's good to see you virtually here, and it was good to see you last weekend in Atlanta, and I'm sure we'll cross paths again soon.
How do people find out more about what you guys are up to and read your stuff?
Sure. Well, first, for what I do, it's shootingillustrated.com. Shooting Illustrated is the NRA's official journal for all things personal protection, concealed carry, home defense. We cover a lot of training, obviously the products, but we like to think we're the best resource for that sort of information. And then obviously NRA.org for the whole suite of what NRA offers. And, I know you've had some of our executives on to go over that, so I won't belabor that point, but we're a lot more than just the political side, which is obviously very important, but we do a tremendous amount, and we've turned a corner. Things are headed the right way, so go look at the website and consider becoming a member or renewing.
Yeah, things are, I'm telling you guys, I'm not saying I'm vouching for them, but I'm saying it looks good. Things are headed in the right direction, and I think I agree with you. They should take a look. A look. And Shooting Illustrated, would it be fair to say it's a little bit more of the gun nerdy side of things?
So, no, I mean,
like in a good way, not in a bad way.
We have that, but we do a lot more of the training stuff. We try to be a little more irreverent. Just as an example, we always run an April Fool's column. We try to let the personality of the folks who write for us come out a bit more. We're not going to get into, the thread pitch of the stock screw from an 1873 version carbine of the. You're not going to see that in Shooting Illustrated. You're going to see a more practical review of a gun. Obviously we're going to test its mechanical characteristics, but we're going to spend a lot more time about how it performed in a drill than just the straight up accuracy testing and chronographing and all that stuff.
Awesome. Very good. Man, thanks again. And we got to do this again soon. This has been fun.
Absolutely. Anytime, man. It's always fun. Thanks, Ryan.
All right, you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.